Welcome to the Karma Verdict. Let us get started with today's story. My girlfriend asked for space and told me not to contact her, then went on vacation with her ex. I am 30 years old, and she is 28. We had been together for almost 2 years, and we spent the last year living in my apartment. I am not going to lie. During the last few weeks, the relationship had become a bit strange. She was more distant, kind of disconnected, although nothing that made me think everything was about to collapse, or so I thought. It was a Tuesday night. I was in the kitchen making dinner when her message arrived. It said that things had gotten complicated and that she needed space to think and sort out her ideas. She also clearly asked me not to contact her until she was ready. The message hit me like a ton of bricks. When someone says they need space, it is rarely a good sign. Still, I tried to react maturely. I replied that I understood and that she could take all the time she needed. After that, total silence. If she had asked for no contact, I decided to respect it. During the following days, I dedicated myself to cleaning the apartment, not because it was dirty, but because I needed to keep my mind occupied. I felt confused and hurt, wondering what complicated really meant. Work was the only thing that helped distract me a bit until Friday arrived. That night, I was scrolling through Instagram without much interest when I saw that a mutual friend had tagged Jess. I opened the post and there she was. Sun, a bright beach, cocktails, and hugging Ryan, her 29-year-old ex-boyfriend, the same one she always assured me was already part of the past. The caption said something like, "Living our best life, island getaway, reunion." I felt my blood run cold. So, this space to think meant a tropical vacation with her ex while I stayed at home respecting her silence. At that moment, something changed inside me. The pain transformed into a cold clarity. It was not uncontrolled anger, but a brutal logic. She did not want space to reflect. She wanted me out of the way while she tried out her old relationship again. Meanwhile, I was still paying for the apartment, keeping everything in order. Turned into some sort of silent plan B. Then I thought, you want space? Perfect. I am going to give it to you. The next morning, I called a locksmith. I had the locks changed on the apartment. It cost me $250, and I can say that every penny was worth it for the peace of mind it gave me. From that moment on, her key was useless. Then there was the issue of the car. About 6 months ago, Jessica's old car broke down for good. She needed a reliable vehicle for her digital marketing job, since she said she had many meetings with clients. The problem was that her credit was not good, so I decided to help her. I bought a pretty decent used Mazda CX-5 for about $8,000. But there is an important detail. The loan, the title, and the insurance were exclusively in my name. Legally, the car was 100% mine. The agreement was that she would make monthly payments to me, which, for the most part, she did, and that she would use the car as if it were hers. She decorated it, hung some fuzzy dice from the mirror, and treated it as her own. But I never added her to the title or the insurance. So, I took the spare key that I always kept and drove to a trusted dealership that buys used cars. I briefly explained that I was the registered owner and that I wanted to sell it. After a quick review, they offered me about $6,500 pending a full inspection and title verification. I agreed to start the process, signed the preliminary documents, and left the car there. They told me it would take a few days to finalize everything. I took an Uber back home. Her parking spot in the complex was now empty. Her belongings were still in the closet of the spare bedroom. I did not throw them away or pack them up. That would have seemed petty to me, but I was not going to allow her to walk into my apartment as if nothing had happened either, especially after she had explicitly asked for no contact. Curiously, I felt serene, as if I were performing a necessary surgery, painful, but inevitable. Yes, of course I was hurt, very hurt. I felt naive, even a bit foolish, but what drove me was not anger, but consistency. She asked for space. She took it in the clearest way possible. I was just respecting her decision and protecting my home and my assets. According to her Instagram stories, the best island life would last 1 more week. So I decided to wait and see what would happen when she returned. And she returned. It was the following Tuesday around 9 o'clock at night. I was watching television trying to ignore the knot in my stomach when I heard the jingling of keys at the door. Then, the sound of a key trying to turn. Silence. Then more attempts, increasingly desperate. "Leo?" Finally, she knocked on the door. "Leo, what is going on? Open up!" I recognized her voice. She sounded annoyed, though not yet scared. I took a deep breath and opened it just a few inches. leaving the chain on. There she was, tanned, with her suitcase next to her and an irritated expression. My key does not work. What did you do to the locks? I changed them, I replied calmly. She blinked several times. What? Why would you do that? You asked for space and no contact. I am making it permanent. Her expression went from confusion to anger. What are you talking about? I just needed time. You cannot lock me out like this. I saw the photos with Ryan. It looks like you already figured out what you needed to think about. Her face changed. A flash of panic crossed her anger. That was just a trip. It did not mean anything. We are friends. I raised an eyebrow. Friends who go on a romantic getaway together while your boyfriend stays home respecting your silence? Leo, do not be ridiculous. Let me in. My things are in there. And where is my car? She looked toward the empty parking lot. Where is my car? Her tone assumed that everything should continue exactly as she had left it. First, this is my apartment, I told her firmly. Second, the car was never yours. Legally, it is in my name and I am selling it. It is at the dealership. Her jaw dropped. You are selling it? You cannot do that. I paid for that car. You made payments to use it. Jess, you did not buy it. The title and the loan are in my name, I replied calmly. And the selling process has already started. Her reaction was immediate. This is crazy. You are robbing me. I am going to call the police. She pulled out her phone decisively. I shrugged. Go ahead. Call them. Explain to them that your ex-boyfriend changed the locks on his own apartment after you asked him for no contact and went on vacation with another ex. And while you are at it, explain to them that he is selling a car that is registered and insured solely in his name. Then let me know how it goes. The phone hung halfway to her ear. She hesitated. Then, her expression changed. It was no longer just anger. It was something darker. You are a horrible person. You planned all of this. I stared at her. I planned it? You organized a vacation with your ex while asking me for absolute silence. I just respected what you asked for and acted accordingly. You do not have the right to put me on pause in my own home while you decide what to do with your life. At that moment, I heard footsteps behind her. Her 26-year-old sister, Megan, appeared walking from the parking lot. Jess had evidently called her to wait downstairs. What is going on? She asked. Jess seized the moment and started to cry. He changed the locks, Megan. He is selling my car. He is throwing me out. Megan turned to me, indignant. Are you serious? After everything she has done for you? You throw her out and sell her things? I took a deep breath. It is my apartment, Megan, and the car was mine too. She asked for no contact and went on vacation with Ryan. You can check her Instagram if you want. For me, it ended there. She needed space, Megan retorted. You were supposed to support her, not punish her. Support her while she was being unfaithful? No thanks. She made a decision. Now she has to own it. Jess, amidst tears and rage, demanded to come in immediately to take her thing. Not tonight, I replied. Set up a day and time. Send me a message and I will have everything ready by the door. You are not coming past the entryway. No, you cannot impose rules. Of course I can. It is my apartment, my rules. You wanted no contact, so this is the new type of contact. You text me with the time and that is it. Goodbye. I closed the door and locked the deadbolt. My hands were shaking a little, not out of fear, but from the mix of adrenaline, accumulated pain, and a strange sense of relief. The confrontation was over, at least for that night. For about 5 more minutes, I heard screaming outside and upset Jess, Megan trying to calm her down while also adding fuel to the fire. Finally, they left. A few hours later, I received a message. It was not from Jess, but from Megan's phone. Jess needs her things tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Be ready. Not a please or a thank you, just an order. Hello, I replied simply. That is fine. That night, I dedicated myself to packing everything, clothes, toiletries, books, small decorative items. Everything I found, I piled up by the door. In a way, it was a liberating process, like physically closing a chapter. Meanwhile, the dealership called me later that week, I think on Thursday. The inspection was done. The final offer was $6,350, a slight adjustment for tire wear. On Friday, I went in person, signed the final title transfer, and they handed me the check. I deposited it that same day. It was not just money, it was a sense of closure. An expensive and emotionally draining chapter was finally left behind. The next day was the pickup of her things. I already imagined there would be drama. And there was. On Wednesday at exactly 10 o'clock, they knocked on the door. It was not Jess, It was Megan and their mother, Sharon. Jess, according to them, was in the car because she was too upset to see me. Sure, Sharon started almost immediately with tears in her eyes, or something resembling tears. Leo, how could you do this to her? After 2 years. She loves you. I looked at her without getting upset. Apparently, not enough to not go on vacation with her ex while asking me for space. It was a mistake, Sharon said. She was confused. You should forgive her. And selling her car, that was cruel. She needs it for work. It was my car, legally mine, and her confusion was a betrayal. Choices have consequences. The car is already sold. I opened the door a little wider so they could see the boxes piled up in the entryway. Here are all her things, I told them calmly. Take them and make sure not to leave anything. This is the only chance you are going to get. Sharon frowned immediately. We need to check the closets, the bathroom. You cannot just leave this for us, and that is it. I shook my head. I packed everything I found. You are not coming any further than here. Do not be irrational, Leo. What if she forgot something? Too bad. I am staying here, and you are taking the boxes. That is the deal. It was obvious they wanted to force their way in, probably to argue more or look for something they could later say I kept, but I was not going to allow it. Amidst murmurs and complaints, they started loading the boxes. It took them 3 trips. Throughout the entire process, Sharon did not stop talking. She kept repeating that I was insensitive, that Jessica was devastated, and that, besides, I owed her money for the car. I barely responded. I just repeated the same thing over and over. It was my car. I sounded like a broken record, but it was the truth. When they finally left, I thought everything was over. I was wrong. The messages started shortly after. This time they were from Jess. She alternated between 2 extremes, tearful apologies and furious demands. I miss you. I made a huge mistake. Please, let us get back together. And just a few minutes later, you owe me money for the car. That money was mine. I am going to take you to small claims court. I completely ignored the emotional messages. To the financial threats, I replied only once. 1. Jess. The car was legally mine. The title, the loan, and the insurance were in my name. 2. Your payments corresponded to the use of the vehicle during the time you drove it. Consider it rent, nothing more. After that, I blocked her number. I also blocked Megan and Sharon, but the story did not end there. Shortly after, some mutual friends started messaging me. People I actually knew more through her than on my own. The tone was clearly accusatory. Hey, I heard what you did to Jess. It was pretty cold to sell her car like that. It was evident that someone was telling a very one-sided version of events. In that story, I was the villain who had thrown her out of spite and taken her car. Curiously, the part about the vacation with Ryan seemed to have disappeared from the narrative. To the few I considered reasonable, I calmly explained everything. The message where she asked for no contact, the photos with her ex during the trip, and the fact that the car was completely in my name. I told them exactly what had happened without embellishments. As for the rest, I simply let them think whatever they wanted. The results were varied. Some understood perfectly what had happened when they heard my side. Others bought the story Jessica was spreading without question. But, being honest, people usually believe what they want to believe. I cannot control that. What did surprise me was what happened next. Yesterday, I received a call from the building manager's office. An anonymous complaint had come in about alleged disturbances and loud arguments coming from my apartment. According to the report, someone was concerned about potential altercations. For a second, I felt a chill. It sounded too calculated, as if someone was trying to get me into trouble. Luckily, I have a good relationship with the manager. I calmly explained that my ex-girlfriend, who lived with me but was not on the lease, had moved out after a breakup. I admitted there was a brief argument outside my door when she returned and discovered I had changed the locks after she herself asked for no contact and went on vacation with her ex. I also clarified that her family had only been here to pick up her belongings under my supervision and that there were no disturbances inside the apartment. The manager seemed to understand. He told me he would keep a record of the report, but as long as there were no more verifiable complaints or actual incidents, the matter would not move forward. I am pretty sure the complaint came from Jess or Megan. It was a low blow, and as if that was not enough, another unexpected element appeared. Today, I received a message request on Instagram from Ryan. I did not even open it. I deleted it immediately and blocked him. I do not need to hear anything from him, whether it is to brag, justify himself, or provoke. I am not interested. If all these attempts, the accusations, the complaints, the manipulations achieved anything, it was reinforcing my decision. They did not make me feel guilty. On the contrary, they made me feel completely justified. This was no longer simply a mistake Jess had made. It was a clear demonstration of who she is and the kind of people that surround her. Megan, Sharon, all of them reinforcing the victim narrative. I was not executing a grand revenge plan. I simply let reality do its job. The apartment is secure. It is completely mine. The complaint went nowhere. The car is sold, and the money is in my account. Her things are no longer here. Communication is blocked on all fronts. And just in case, I briefly consulted with a lawyer to make sure of everything. He confirmed that my legal position regarding the car and the apartment was solid. He also advised me that if the threats or harassment continued, I could easily send a formal cease and desist letter. Honestly, what disappointed me the most was seeing how far they were willing to go. Did they really think they could intimidate or manipulate me into going back to the comfortable situation that Jess had ruined? It does not work that way. Now, my focus is different, cleaning up the emotional mess that was left behind. It hurts to accept that someone you lived with and shared so much with is capable of acting with that level of deceit and arrogance. But I prefer to know it now and not later, when the damage would have been much greater. Final update. About 2 months have passed since Jessica returned from her trip to Think with Ryan. Everything has calmed down a lot, mainly because I stopped feeding the drama after the last confrontation. The campaign to paint me as the villain lasted for a while. I lost some mutual friends, especially those who barely knew me and stuck with the most dramatic version. Honestly, it was a good purge. If someone takes sides without hearing both versions, they are not someone I need in my life. My real friends, the ones who knew me before Jess, were there, listened to everything, saw the evidence, and supported me 100%. Jess tried to escalate the matter legally. I received a threatening letter from what was clearly a cut-rate lawyer. They demanded $10,000 for her contributions to the car and for emotional distress. The letter was full of mistakes and weak arguments, clearly thrown together. My response was simple. The lawyer I consulted sent a formal and very direct letter. It included copies of the car title, the loan agreement, and the insurance policy, all exclusively in my name. It also explained that Jessica's payments corresponded to the use of the vehicle during the time she drove it, basically rent. It even mentioned that if it was calculated by mileage according to standard rates, she would have actually owed money. That was more a way to make the point clear than anything else, but it worked. Furthermore, we attached a copy of the original message where she asked for space and no contact, along with screenshots of the public photos from her vacation with Ryan, with visible dates and times. The letter ended with a clear warning. Any additional unfounded claims or harassment attempts would result in us seeking a restraining order and suing for legal fees. After that, absolute silence. I suppose her lawyer explained to her that she had no case, and paying for a real legal battle was never an option for her, especially without my financial support. Through third parties, I found out what happened next. Jessica went to live with Megan for a while. Apparently, that generated a lot of tension, because Jess expected her sister to practically finance her lifestyle without her putting in much effort. Nothing surprising. Ryan, predictably, disappeared when the vacation ended and the fantasy was over. He was not interested in taking on her drama. He had his fun getaway, and that was it. I also heard that she tried to emotionally pressure her parents for money. She probably got something, but not enough to maintain the standard of living she had before. The latest news I heard is that she went back to her hometown and is now living with her parents again. Apparently, she constantly complains about how unfair life is and how I ruined everything. Zero self-awareness, zero remorse, just a permanent victim mentality. And now comes the best part, the silence. No messages, no threats, no drama. My apartment felt like my home again. Last weekend, I painted the living room and changed some of the furniture she had chosen. Reclaiming the space has been therapeutic. In the end, my revenge was not loud or spectacular. It was quiet, methodical, and based on clear boundaries. And honestly, there is nothing more powerful than that. In the end, all I did was take her request literally. She asked for no contact, and I simply respected it. I let the natural consequences of her decisions run their course without interfering. She wanted space. She ended up having all the space in the world. She chose to prioritize a fling with her ex, so she had to face what came next alone. For a long time, she took my support, my apartment, and the car for granted. She thought all of that was guaranteed, as if it were part of a permanent package. But those things existed on a very clear foundation: trust. And the moment she broke that trust, everything else fell apart too. The car she considered hers, her little status symbol, her apparent independence, became unavailable. And yes, I admit it, selling it while she was tanning on the beach with another guy had a pretty strong ironic point to it. I am not going to pretend there was not a part of me that felt satisfaction. That empty parking space when she returned was almost poetic, a visible, concrete consequence impossible to ignore. She did not just lose a relationship. She lost the comfort she took for granted. She lost the stability I was upholding. Of course, it affected me emotionally. It was not easy to process the betrayal. It took me time to understand that someone I supported so much could act like that. But instead of reacting out of anger, I acted out of logic. I protected myself. I set boundaries. I refused to be the guy who waits patiently while being kept as a backup plan. She thought she could play both sides, keep me on pause while she saw if her past suited her better. She thought I would still be there, available, funding the stability while she experimented. She was wrong. She miscalculated. And when reality caught up with her, her arrogance could not save her. The most satisfying thing about all this was not the conflict or the drama. It was seeing that the consequences were direct and proportional to her choices. Nothing exaggerated, nothing vindictive, just logic at work. And honestly, it was the best thing that could happen. Good riddance to Jess. Comment: sometimes the most profound act of self-care is simply walking away from situations that no longer respect your worth. Setting firm boundaries is not about seeking revenge, but about protecting your own peace of mind. We cannot control how others treat us, but we can absolutely control what we choose to tolerate. True healing begins the moment you stop waiting for an apology and start focusing on rebuilding your own life. A healthy relationship must always be built on mutual trust and transparency. Letting go of people who take your kindness for granted makes room for those who genuinely appreciate you. Walking away from unnecessary drama takes courage, but it is often the only way to find lasting stability. I hope you always remember to be kind to yourself during difficult transitions. You deserve a life filled with honest connections and quiet confidence. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with our upcoming stories. Your support means the world to us.